Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Age of Empires 2. This time I'm playing as the Turks against two medium opponents. I'm not really sure what kind of map this is, but yeah, it's wide open, so it's definitely not islands. Yeah, unfortunately, like last time, this time my opponents decided to fight each other a lot more than they did me. But yeah, I do feel like this is a better representation of what a medium opponent is capable of. I again have the footage sped up 2 times, so the original 1.5 hours was cut down to about 44 minutes. So yeah, I start off the Dark Age. I think I've got more or less figured out, just like I said last time. But I do believe I advanced the Feudal Age a little bit too quickly. I think I can improve on that a little bit. I think I can right now when my population reaches 20, I switch over or I start researching the Feudal Age, which is basically the earliest opportunity for me to do so. But I do think if I were to get 5 or 10 more villages, which is quite easy from that point on, it would be better for me. Then I could quite quickly get some gold and some stone, which would make my transition to the castle age better, and get a castle up quicker, which would all be good things. Now, as for the Turks as a race, I found them quite difficult to play with, because of two units I use a lot. The pikemen and the... what are they called? Javelin men? At least these two units don't upgrade at all. So I'm stuck with the most basic units of them. You do get the best light infantry, so that would be the hussars. But unfortunately, or actually that's very nice, they automatically upgrade. You don't have to click the upgrade. It's apparently something these Turks do. One of the race traits, I think. This is very useful. And I definitely abuse this a little in this playthrough, but it takes me a while to figure this out. Anyway, one thing I also noticed is that the CPUs tend to also hunt a lot, so these deers and boars and stuff like this they collect. I don't feel like this is a very efficient way of getting your food, so I generally don't do it, but I might be wrong on this. I'm not entirely sure, because when I'm looking at the replay I'm thinking to myself, they have to walk a long distance, they're not gathering super much, or any bit faster than they would if they were gathering berries or whatever. But they do have to walk a long distance, and yeah, walking a long distance is not very efficient, so I guess that probably it's bad, but they do seem to get ahead at that point, but then they also have a lot of villagers at that point more than me, because I advanced the Feudal Age so quickly. I'm going to have to do one more match with this, see if I can optimize my the start of the game a little bit more. After the Feudal Age and the Castle Age, I really steamroll ahead, because yeah, after that my economy seems to take off, and I can build large armies. Also, I've noticed that I wait way too long with building up more than one production facility of each kind, so more than one barracks, more than one archery range, stuff like this. I generally have an overproduction which I cannot use to make units, and this is a problem. I do feel like this is a problem. Right now I could really use that extra population. Just 5 or 10 extra guys, then I could have a lot more guys on wood, I could have a lot more guys on food, and I could already start mining the gold. Which I feel like is actually not a bad thing to do, because in the Feudal Age you already yeah, you get your first gold consumption, which would be the advancement to the Castle Age, which should be something you try to get to as quickly as possible, I feel like. Also you have the blacksmith, and yeah, the upgrades from the blacksmith are of course useful, but I don't really think I should be doing them before I have any army. The CPU does do this, by the way. They get their upgrades really quickly, but I don't think this is the best way to do it. I think you should build units first and then upgrade them. Also, the most units I built early on are units that mostly don't require gold, so that would be wood and food. And these units, well, Yeah, I mean, you could get upgrades for them, but it's not like you've taken away the gold for something else. I mean, if you have gold left or excess gold, it makes sense that you try and upgrade, but if you don't, then don't. It's really not that handy. Okay, now I first get my barracks down, I start my gold, which is way too late, I feel like. Also, right now I should already be getting a few guys on stone, so when I advance to the castle age I have plenty to start building my castle right away. Oh, bumped the mic. Hope you didn't get your ears blown off. Building loads and loads of guys. I'm really questioning if I should be building a second town center at some point. I don't really see the need for doing it. It does take 100 stone. And this is stone I could be using for other things. I mean, another castle I think is far more valuable than another town center. And most of these... I mean, the CPU uses them as a central hub for farms, but I don't really see the use. Just build another farm, or another mill, I should say. I think this would be way better, but yeah, I'm not really sure why the CPU thinks this is a brilliant idea. The only advantage I could see to a second town center is that you have another spot where you could build your units, not your units, the villages. But yeah, I never found myself. I mean, there were definitely early on in the game moments where I was like, well, probably I could use a little bit more, or more than one town center. But that's early on, like feudal age. I mean, when I get to the castle age, I really don't feel like one town center is not enough to build villages. I do feel like my game in general was a bit more streamlined, but having these very poor start units threw me off. Also, I do feel like I should already be building my second barracks by now, but also my wood production is not ideal, which is also why I feel like I need those 5 extra villages. Those should probably be mostly on wood. The wood production early on was a bit of a problem, and I'm lagging behind because of it. Now right here I think I already have enough gold for the next stage, so I should probably be switching 2 or 3 guys to the stone mine, but I don't do this. I keep 1 or 2 guys on there for a very long time. And this means my castle will be severely delayed, which is a bad thing. Now, as chance would have it, I don't rely on my castle units at all. I mean, a little bit of one of the upgrades, but that's not the primary thing here. The castle of the Turks has an upgrade, their race-specific upgrade, which is first of all that all cannon units have more range, which is of course nice, but also that the cavalry archers have a great deal more armor, and I think also range and damage. It's a general buff towards the cavalry archer, making it a great deal more viable unit. I generally don't build them at all because they're expensive and they're not actually that good. But with the Turks they're actually quite useful, I found. They're by far the most reliable unit I've made. Unfortunately one of my enemies is Spain, which have their conquistadors, which is cavalry mounted guns, which is very, very, very overpowered. I mean, definitely the first one. When you get into Castle Age and you have access to a gunpowder unit, it's just so overpowered. I mean, I've looked at this replay just from without the fog of war, so in the in-game replay system, and I definitely can see these conquistadors being super duper overpowered. I can just see how they destroy fleets also, because I think I'm not sure if it counts as piercing. Anyway, they have 16 damage, which is so much, and I mean, I'm not really sure how expensive they are, so maybe that balances things out a bit, but that kind of damage is just too much, I feel like. I mean, I also have my a gun unit that I can have access to quite early, but this is a foot soldier. It's not as quick. I suppose I could use it all the same, because the conquistadors do have very poor health, just like my what are they called? I'm not going to figure this out, am I? Anyway. I also use camels in this game, by the way. I found out they're actually quite useful. When I was younger, I usually discarded the camel as not being useful at all, but they're very powerful against cavalry, which I'm going to run in a lot, because these conquistadors are most definitely cavalry. And yeah, doing some damage to them is generally a good thing. Unfortunately, they tend to retreat when I approach them, but yeah, the camels do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, they're all, I mean, camels, cavalry archers, Janissaries, I think they're called. The gunmen of the Turkish. But yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, there are definitely a few things I did here that I could have done better. I am proud that I did scout out a little bit more, so in advance I did know that the enemy was building a lot of knights, which tells me they have a lot of... they're investing a lot in cavalry. Which would make sense, I suppose. I mean, they're the Chinese. I'm not really sure what their race-specific upgrades are, but they had a lot of knights I spotted at one point. I'm not sure if I've already done this or not, but I do invest a bit in spearmen just in case they come to attack me, which was actually a good idea. If they would have come for me, the only thing I would have had in my favor is that that I had spearmen and he did not. Yeah, here there you go. Here I see the knights, I see a monk. So I do think I actually quite quickly decide to build a monastery and research heresy to make sure that my guys die instead of being converted. Oh, here I go. Here I build my monastery. Unfortunately, I didn't find a relic quite early on. It took me a while to find it. There is one quite close to the red base, but I've not found it yet. I will do shortly so. And when I do, I'm going to get my hands on the... I am going to be able to steal this right from under its nose, which is very nice. I did remember to research loom this time, which is good, so now these jaguars don't kill me when I run into one. You can read what kind of unit it is now. I cannot. Very unfortunate. Not enough gold. This is something you're going to see a lot. I mean, they're very gold dependent race, the Turks. They would work spectacularly well when you have an ally, but I really don't, so... Yeah. I generally get, or I get very cheeky with my my gold mine placings. I think I actually mine out a few spots right next to the enemy camp. For some reason I get away with 2 of them before a group of my miners gets killed, but yeah, I mean, you can't get away with all of them. Okay, well, this game is slowly but steadily getting underway. It's actually unfortunate, when I'm narrating this I can't actually hear the in-game sounds, so you hear all kinds of squeaky noises when my my guinea pigs slash armies do things, but I don't hear anything, so I mean, when I watch it later it's absolutely hilarious, but some part of me really wants to hear this squeaky guys saying all kinds of stuff in Turkish, which is, I mean, I found that at least in certain languages they have the accurate, they actually use the accurate language. I think they actually do it in all the languages, that all the races speak the appropriate language, so it's not like this random noise that is supposed to sound like the nation they're coming from. There's way too many games that do this. They have this, like, you can play as the Chinese or whatever and they all speak English, and now these guys actually don't speak English, they speak whatever, Turkish or German or Dutch or whatever they're from, which I like. It's a nice detail. This was also in the original game, by the way. Also, the very first time I noticed that this one upgrade that I normally always do only affects ships. So right here I actually don't upgrade it at all. There's a lot of things I don't upgrade until later on in the game when I actually need it. And this is actually an improvement, I feel like. This is all gold I'm using for something else. So now I've got an actual army instead of whatever, some random upgrades. For a very long time, actually, at the start, I had the largest army, right up until green and red started to fight each other a lot. There's more than one upgrade, by the way, for these cavalry archers that the Turks have access to. Excuse me. It makes them, I think it makes them a very viable unit to use instead of this my normal go-to units. I actually built a second archery range here because I feel like I can get more out of my or I can use more at the time, but I should really be building more stables already and more barracks. I'm still too conservative with my my units or my building placement. There's really no reason not to. I have plenty of wood, so there's no reason why I shouldn't be building any more construction buildings. Am I already in the Imperial Age, by the way? I can't tell. I think I am. Would make sense. Anyway. It does take a while for this game for me to get on the way, because I am I actually feel this out quite well. At one point, it's not quite there yet, but I gather all these shitty units that I cannot upgrade, the Spearmen and the Javelin, and I send them towards Red. But then before I cross the river into Red's territory, I decide to wait. I'm really not overly confident at that point that I can actually take him. So when I was playing, I was like, probably I'm going to see that later on this Red really wasn't that big of a problem and I should have just attacked. But when I look back, I was like, this was a good idea to wait with this attack, because Red was actually attacking green for the most part. And he had a very decent army, and not just decent but also dangerous. He had some very quality cavalry units. I forget what they're called, Chevaliers, I think. Anyway, the one that comes after night. They're quite deadly, and I might have had spearmen, but they're not exactly powerful units. My cannon towers, however, are very dangerous, so I did decide to put some research into that. Put one next to my first castle and the other one close to my, I think it was my barracks and my stable that I placed my second cannon tower. That would make sense at least. This way I protect a quite large amount of valuable turf. With this they have a large range. This is the upgrade I get from my castle, my race specific upgrade. At this point I have so much wood, I should basically have one dude that's constantly building stuff. And each time I run out of things for him to do, I should just have him build like something. I really don't feel like my wood production is too low that I cannot support this. I'm not sure if I actually don't do this here, but I think in the future I should be sending a bit more monks with my army, because they do really help me out. They make sure my guys stay alive longer. That's the greatest value, I feel like. I mean, sure, you can convert enemy units, but the greatest benefit I feel like is that they heal your own units, make them last longer. Particularly the gold units, so it also is something I should be doing here, because most of my gold is actually in my ranged units, so my cavalry archers. And my cannons really doesn't help out very much, because, well, they're cannons and they cannot be healed by a monk. But the other units I should definitely be able to heal with my monks, so I protect my units which require gold, which is the most difficult resource to get my hands on. That's actually a very poor placement for a navy, I later find out. They're absolutely stuck in that spot. Completely useless. Yeah, lose light cavalry, I knew I would. Or hussar, they're actually already hussars. There I place another cannon tower at that angle to make sure that if the other enemy green shows up, that he gets a cannon tower to deal with. Figured this would be a good idea. Get some more guys on gold, because I don't have enough. Also, I build up a very large food production in this game, just so that I can basically non-stop churn out these hussars and use them basically as a meat shield for my more expensive units. namely my cannons, which are the big damage dealers for the buildings. And I also have these cavalry archers, which I don't commit to the fight until I get to the other guy, to green. I do eventually use, I think, the javelin that I have. This very shitty unit are amongst the most valuable, I feel like, because they stay alive when you use this improvised this improvised, oh, what's the word I'm looking for, attack command. So this patrol command I send across their camp. The swordsmen, I mean, I use these light cavalrymen, which are really weak against most things. I mean, I built them anyway because they're just too cheap and too easy to get the resources for it not to build a lot of them. But they're not very efficient in their use, because I think they're weak to infantry, other cavalry, and camels as well. But yeah, the enemy doesn't have camels, but infantry and cavalry they definitely do have. Yeah. Basically, I'm being very, very conservative with my gold in this game. I really need to be conservative with my gold. Here I get very cheeky. This is basically right next to the enemy camp, and I decide to, like, oh, let's try it. Let's see if we can get away with this, getting gold from that spot. And I do. I actually mine out that spot entirely. But when I later on try to get more, it goes wrong. Okay, I am starting to upgrade my archers, because right here I've decided I'm going to be using my archers, or my cavalry archers, as the main damage dealers for my army, at least versus other units. That army I completely forget about, and I don't commit it to any fight until basically when it's already decided. You see me here building up my first cavalry archers. Okay. I think I'm actually getting quite close to a decent attack. Right now I feel a lot more confident. I have an army, and I have enough to set it or to back it up. The enemy, by the way, also has a rather large fleet. But I decided not to invest at all into the fleet because I can easily outmaneuver it. And I'm not at a point where the fleet would be destroying my building, so I don't feel like it's necessary to invest a lot of gold in this fleet that's may or may not be able to outperform the CPUs. They really commit a lot of stuff to their navies. I really feel like this is a mistake. I mean, I kind of feel like they actually threw the game by having that much water to or gold invested in their fleets. I mean, at one point they had 40 ships versus 40 ships in a big ass naval fight. Eventually Green lost this naval fight, and they ended up fighting in their in Green camp. But yeah, it really cost them, because that's and I think how much gold would that be? 40 ships, like a few thousand. I mean, that's stuff that you could be using for something else. Red actually has access to 3 relics at this point. As I said, I did watch this replay from the in-game replay system, and these 3 relics are generating gold enough for him that it's actually significant. I mean, I have only 1 relic, but late game it really shows that the gold income, yeah, it helps definitely. I mean, at the end of the game, I get access to all the relics because I wanted to see if this relic victory really was a thing, and it is, by the way. But the gold income you have is quite large then. I mean, it's not like an actual gold mine. I mean, those make more, but despite a gold mine and trading income, it's really not a bad income source. It is something you can actually rely on to build something. I mean, you do have to be patient. It's not. I think it would be the equivalent of having 2 or 3 guys working gold for 5 relics, which is not a lot, but it works. Also, this map I think is a bit too big, so for the next playthrough I'm going to use a smaller map. I think this is also why for such a long time things remain passive, but I'm not sure. Here you see this, because I have this fast food overproduction, I can afford to start sending my armies forward. I have predominantly light cavalry, but also these units I built at the start that I didn't really notice were just, you know, very poor units, like, or didn't upgrade, I should say. Even more food production, because I can use it, why not? It actually took me by surprise just how much wood this takes to maintain this much farms. And later on, I usually when I like plop this full of, or plop the farm full of plop the farm full of other stuff like the backup farmland, like, oh, what do you call it? There you queue up these farms to when they wither, that you then have farms to use. I am perhaps watching this battle a wee bit too much. I mean, sure, I could micromanage these units a lot better, but I'm not actually trying to kill them off with these armies. I'm just trying to draw out this army and see what is cut, and also in the meantime cause some damage. I mean, if I can take a castle, the only units I really don't want to lose is my siege units, because they're extremely expensive. And the other units are basically no gold invested. And when there's no gold invested, I really don't care that much about the unit. I'm basically at this point also non-stop creating these hussars, which makes them the most dispendable unit I'll ever have in this playthrough. I mean, in most playthroughs I have a fast access of these hussars, if I have access to them, that is. I mean, there are definitely races which don't have access to these light cavalry, which are very dependent on other stuff than food. I mean, they only cost food, these hussars, which makes them ideal for other stuff like, yeah, just as a unit you spam, you can get food in so many different ways, and you generally, it's quite easy to get a fast access of it. Here you see that these javelin men, I keep them a bit close to my my cannon men, or my cannoneers, or what are they called, just to protect them a little, that if a unit breaks through, I'm not immediately without defenses. Okay, I am doing a lot more damage than I thought I would. I either did a metric butt ton of damage that I really can't explain, because he had a lot of cavalry, or he committed a far larger amount to the green army than I realized at that point, but very neatly placed buildings. I generally focus down town centers and stuff like this. I'm not sure if this is the best thing to do, but I feel like this farmland is already not being used if you take out the town center. It's where all the resources go, so if you take it out, they have to walk along a lot further, and it's a lot more expensive to replace. These generally at this point in the game there's already a rather large amount of, or the wood farming is actually happening quite a bit away from the main base, so I don't think wood at this point is a problem that you would want to take out the farms first. My monks are almost back with the relics. Now that I actually get access to 4 relics, this helps. I mean, normally I disregard the income of the relic. I mean, it's always a nice little buff. It means like in about 10 minutes of play you have access to 1000 gold or something like this, or 500 for each relic maybe, for every 10 minutes in game. Maybe it's less. Anyway, it's not a ton of gold, but it's nice to have. It's like an upgrade extra that you would be able to do in this 10 minutes. which is of course nice, but it's not a ginormous source of gold. But when you have 4 of them at the same time, or 5, then it becomes somewhat more significant. It's definitely something to watch when... I think the amount of relics is dependent on the amount of players that are in the game. And if there's a lot of players, there would be a lot of relics then, and I think it would make sense that you then have that this would then be a quite nice way to get your gold. I'm not really sure why I sent back my my cannons earlier, because really most of the buildings I saw at the time that we were able to destroy were further back, but by sheer chance that's where his remaining castles were. Now here I try to get a gold even closer to my enemy. This would later on cost me a miner, all the miners and the other guys. I should probably pull back the hussars there, but I decide to use them to bring down the castle faster, so that I can again commit my cannons to destroying buildings on the main front, as I see it. Now here I notice I have an enormous amount of stone left, so I decide to put a wall around me. Or do I do this later? No, I actually started here. Very good. Then never actually... Yeah, here you see my miners die. Your commitment to the cause will be remembered. The honorable death will serve as a bright beacon of hope. Something like this. Anyway, I have plenty of villagers, so I really don't mind that a few of them get destroyed. Now, unfortunately, you can't actually build walls on this green stuff, which actually made me dislike this type of map in general. But to be honest, it's quite a nice map to play in. Lots of open ground, but also some strategic placement of units. I mean, the water is not really a hindrance for either land or sea, so I suppose I kind of like it. If you build too close to the water, you can really do damage with naval units, but if you don't, then that's really not a big issue either. You could do a lot of damage with navy and without navy, I guess is what I'm saying. You don't need to, like you do in the islands, but you also... It's not completely useless as it would be in some of the other games. I mean, in this playthrough I generally ignore the water because I didn't build any navy, but otherwise I could basically cut across the entire map with an army without having to worry about possibly coming across a navy which would tear my army apart. I'm starting to mix in some more camels, because I at this point do realize that I'm, excuse me, going to need more anti-cavalry. Grouping up my army again. I mean, I don't actually... I've defeated my first enemy at this point, but yeah, I am still rather confident that I have the army to push on. Did upgrade my walls as well. I mean, I have them now, so it would make sense to upgrade them. This is not the brightest villager in the bunch. He's like, I can reach it from here. Well, if you walk around, you can. I did actually pull back my cannons. As I said, these are the only units I basically care about in that army I sent there, because they're the only ones that cost gold and lots of it. So I did protect them and sent them back. But the other guys I immediately used send on towards the next enemy. I really don't have a use for them. Oh well, I do have a use for them. Attack. But yeah, I could do without these units, guess what I'm saying, so I just use them already. Thin out the armies already a bit, and decide to build a castle here. I mean, castles don't cost gold, cannon towers do, so... Actually never build any units out of that castle, that's just there for defensive purposes, I guess. This enemy really did, the Spanish really did build a lot of castles. I think there were like 5 or 6. which is a lot for the AI. Usually they don't build that much. I have 10 cannoneers when I send them out, so these are the last cannons that are being built. But after that it's... yeah, at this point I've already pretty much decided that I've won the game. Don't really feel like this enemy is capable of defeating me at this point. This is also, I guess, kind of the thing with my current gameplay. Once I get going, I can easily win off these medium opponents, but definitely after seeing this this replay, I am not convinced I would have been able to as easily repel the initial attack. So basically the reason I can get so strong as I do now is because I only later on find out that, oh yeah, perhaps I should invest in this and this and this, rather than doing it earlier on. And yeah, my resource or my timing on the feudal age is also a bit off. I feel like the castle age should be a lot more refined. I should get my castle quicker. I mean, at this point I also didn't know how I was going to use the Turks in battle, but so in this case it didn't actually hurt me too much delaying the castle, because I definitely didn't use these janissaries a lot. Here I actually wanted to investigate if I could trade with my own markets. It's not possible, I can tell you, but I decided to check it anyway. Oh, sing something. Galleon, I think. Plop down a few cannon towers to help defend the wall. Get cartography, not that I have an ally, but it's useful anyway. I mean, it's free, I guess is what I'm saying. And you get access to this the speed upgrade, which I don't actually buy until I'm sure that I can actually earn something with it. I cannot, I can already guarantee you this. I have an enormous amount of food and wood stacked up, so I sell this so that I get access to more gold, which I can then use again. I mean, I suppose I should be doing this earlier on. I have a vast overproduction of something, and this always happens. 4 resources are just too many for me to balance out on my own. Or, yeah, and then that I can then sell it and use the gold for something else is definitely something I should be doing. Okay, I'm getting my army into position. Don't remember if I actually later on inquire. I do send upgrades because these conquistadors are just so deadly. I think they have 18 attack or something like this. I don't think armor really does much against it, and they are quite quick. At least too quick for my camels to easily track or chase them down. Definitely through castles and stuff like this. So. Yeah, it's when you're up against the Spaniards, on the defense they're quite powerful, I find. I mean, on the attack I'm not so sure, and then you can just send your camels after them, and defensive structures combined, you should be fine. Sell some more stuff. I think I actually at one point had 20,000 food hoarded or something like this. Just way more than I need. But it did give me the flexibility to get a lot of gold quickly. And I actually used this to build a conventional army. At this point I'm not entirely convinced that what I've got here is enough to break through the lines. But later on it turned out that it did. Also at one point I felt like he just gave up before he actually surrendered. So he had some armies at the back, but he didn't commit them to the fight, which would have been nice if he would have done so. Or at least for him. For me it was fine that he didn't, but... I mean, these cannons are usually what I go for damage anyway, because they're more mobile than a trebuchet. But with this upgrade of the Turks, I think they actually outrange trebuchets. It wouldn't surprise me at least, which is just nuts. Because I think they're the longest ranged things in the game, period. But I'm not so sure with these cannons. Here I have a second army attacking the lower area. I do actually pull that back, I think. I decided it wasn't a smart idea to have that hug the... There you go. That you hug the castle with units that can't actually break it down. There's a lot of buildings that you can hotkey in this game that would make things more efficient, but I generally 1 to 4 is something I easily reach for, but 5 I generally have to look at my keyboard anyway, and I then think to myself, did I really win any time with this? I really don't feel like I would have. So I use 1 through 4 for the for my production buildings, and then afterwards 5, 6, 7 is usually the ones I use for my army. And then afterwards 8, 9 and 0 I don't really use. On occasion I do allocate something to it, but then I decide, no, this is not really useful, so... Or I don't decide, I just don't end up using it, because it's too far away from where I've got my hands on the keyboard. I do actually like how they set up the hotkeys in this game. I mean, you hotkey it based on not necessarily the building or what it is, but on its position in the little screen. So when you've got your yeah, I mean, when it's on the 4th spot in the middle, it's on the 4th spot in the middle on your keyboard. It's a lot easier to remember, at least I find. In a lot of games they try to, like, for instance, if it's a turret then T, or and it's a castle C, which ironically it is, but that's just, I think it's chance. Maybe they did this on purpose, that the C key would then in the menu make sense that this would be then the castle, but yeah, I'm not sure. With a lot of other stuff they just didn't bother, so who knows. Here I'm actually trying not to kill him off just quite yet, because I want to find out if this relic victory is a thing. I don't know if my monk has already grabbed it. It's on its way back, I'm not sure. Oh, the monk's already there. Yeah, okay, you already grabbed it. So it should be on its way back. Yeah, it is. Excellent. And after I see that this relic victory is a thing, I press on, I kill him. These 10 cannon guys are so destructive. Not really sure if he has, perhaps I should check this, if he has any, I don't think he has any access to a gold mine anymore at this point, so he's in big trouble because he doesn't have any relics, he doesn't have a gold mine, and he has no other way of getting gold. Yeah, the market, but I think I already blew that up. So he has no more gold. He should have some wood and food income, but other than that he doesn't have much, and I think I can handle what he can build with wood and food. I mean, pikemen would be sort of an issue, but then again I have horse archers, so I should be okay. He could be building his light infantry or light cavalry, which I will take down quite easily with my horse archers. Basically, he cannot build anything that can hurt me. Yeah, maybe javelinmen. If he has access to those could perhaps hurt me a little bit. But then horse archers are definitely better than cavalry. Or horse archers are definitely better than javelinmen. I don't know what actually damaged that house. Really unsure about this. Why am I still building my stuff in my my base? Well, why not? I mean, I've basically already won at this point. If I don't kill his buildings, there's no way he can penetrate my base to destroy the monastery and get access to the relics. It's not happening, but I think he actually surrenders at this point. Oh yeah, I think I actually tried to start building a wonder here, which would be the Hagia Sophia. Yeah, the Hagia Sophia. Which these buildings are generally real-life buildings that either still exist or existed in the past. Okay, here I am, victorious. I am going to do one more game against medium opponents before I decide whether or not I'm going to increase my my difficulty setting, but that's for the next time. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll see you next time.